The Star Wars universe is bigger now than it has ever been before. We wonder if back in the day fans could have ever imagined that it would expand to such a level. With tons of new movies and TV shows on the way, let's take a look at all the new releases that we can look forward to in 2023 and beyond. Stay tuned as we go through every Star Wars movie and TV release set for 2023. Starting off, we have got The Bad Batch Season 2. Following 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni's animated spin-off Star Wars, The Bad Batch will return for a second season in 2023. The first season came out in 2021 and ended with a 2-part finale that left many viewers excited for what was next. In the 7th and final season of the Clone Wars, which aired in 2020, a group of clone soldiers was first revealed. This group was unaware of Order 66, and so they disobeyed every Jedi. These came to be known as the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch instead applies more critical thinking to who's giving them commands because of the mutations that made them a defective line of clones. This series is about the action-packed way in which they defy that authority. Fans won't have to wait too long before they can watch The Bad Batch's second season. The season begins on January 4th, 2023, and we'll get to enjoy a 2-episode premiere, which has us even more excited. It's expected that the story will pick up right where things left off in Season 1. Following up is The Mandalorian Season 3. The Mandalorian Season 3 will premiere on Disney Plus on March 1st, 2023. In case you missed the news, the third season's big teaser, which Lucasfilms previously revealed, pushed every single pleasure button on our ship's control panel. The main plot thread for the upcoming season was hinted at in the preview. Mando was attempting to atone for removing his helmet. Redemption for Mando? Well, we've seen stranger things. We're aware that the Armorer won't tolerate such foolishness, but it seems that everything is possible when you have the strength of the galaxy's strongest infant on your side. Mando seems to be planning on spending more time in space than normal while plotting the Naboo N1 starfighter. We also caught a peek at a few familiar personalities like Babu Frick, Greef Karga, and Peli Motto. The Mandalorian Season 2 finale was both a thrilling snowball of the several storylines from the previous 8 episodes and a little betrayal of everything we cherished about the show. We love Mando and Grogu, what else is there to say? But regardless of how we felt about the final 10 minutes, the season was excellent. Naturally, we'll ponder about what lies ahead for The Mandalorian Season 3 for the foreseeable future. Up next is Star Wars Ahsoka. Ahsoka Tano, a fan favorite, was introduced to the live-action universe in The Mandalorian Season 2, and Rosario Dawson will continue to portray the most well-known Togruta Jedi from Star Wars. On Thursday during the 2020 Investor Day call, Disney announced that Ahsoka would have her own live-action series on Disney+. It seems the project is still a long way off, and so we don't have many specifics about the story. One thing we do know is that the show's going to be set shortly after the events of Star Wars Rebels, which implies that it should all be set before Ahsoka's encounter with Din Djarin and Grogu. On top of that, this unknown moment in Ahsoka's life might serve as a perfect backdrop for us to understand more about the history of the Jedi Order. This series will follow Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano, although it's not exactly obvious where the plot may take her. We do know that the series will star Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader, so it's most likely a prequel to the events of The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, since Vader is dead by then. But that's about all we know, and it's still just a guess. But as of September 2022, Ezra Bridger will be there, played by Iman Esfandi. Moving on to Skeleton Crew, Lucasfilm's second new Star Wars plot was announced in 2022 Star Wars as a 2020 release is utterly unconnected to significant figures from earlier films and television series. Jude Law and a ragtag crew of unannounced child actors star in the show, which creator John Watts refers to as a throwback to 80s Amblin movies. This, a catch-all term for kid-centric adventure films like Goonies or Explorers, or essentially anything riffed on by Stranger Things over the last years. Consider films like Spider-Man Homecoming, we think he may be the best person for the job. Other than the fact that it takes place around the same time as The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, little is known about the plot, but given that Watts did something similar with his 2015 chase thriller Cop Car, one can assume that Skeleton Crew will also pay homage to George Lucas's love of fast-moving objects. Skeleton Crew, according to Watts, will present a distinct perspective on the Star Wars world from a different viewpoint, plus we know that the show's original working title was Grammar Rodeo. We're not sure if a mix of Stranger Things and Star Wars is something that fans really wanted to see, but the project promises to be different from anything we've gotten so far. It's clear that Disney isn't afraid of expanding their horizons and trying out new things, which we think is for the better. Plus, there's Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie. Lucasfilm revealed earlier that Jojo Rabbit and Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi will also co-write and direct a new Star Wars picture for a theater release. Waititi will collaborate on the writing alongside Oscar nominee Krysty Wilson Cairns, whose film won a BAFTA for Outstanding British Film of the Year. Thor: Love and Thunder, the fourth Thor movie for Marvel Studios, is Waititi's latest film. The Mandalorian was another project the director worked on. Waititi voiced the assassin droid IG-11 and directed the show's 8th episode, Redemption. Waititi received the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for Jojo Rabbit. It's clear that he's got the skills needed to do a project like this well, even if fans aren't always a fan of his work. The upcoming Star Wars film's release date wasn't specified by Disney. Initially, the movie is scheduled for release in 2022, according to a studio calendar issued in 2019. But it's clear that delays brought on by the coronavirus pandemic affected Disney's schedule of film releases. We've got to say, Taika's iconic style of directing might be able to give Star Wars the unique flair that it needs. We'll need projects that don't just feel like yet another Star Wars film. Instead, seeing individual directors take on the franchise might be the way to go. Following up is Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Star Wars Rogue Squadron may be the upcoming Star Wars film about which we know the most. Will be directed by Patty Jenkins. She's the director of Wonder Woman, who stated her intention to make it the best fighter pilot movie of all time. Despite being initially scheduled for release in December 2023, scheduling issues caused a delay and forced Disney to remove the film from their calendar for that year. Jenkins, though, is said to have changed a few things since then in order to concentrate more on Rogue Squadron. With Wonder Woman 3 now cancelled, it's possible she'll shift her attention toward Rogue Squadron even more. Lucasfilm loves surprises, and the company had one for fans on Thursday at Disney's 2020 Investors Day, and this series definitely came as a surprise to many. According to Kathleen Kennedy of Lucasfilm, the Rebel Alliance squadron that Luke Skywalker established during the original epic chronology will appear on the big screen in a future Age of the Galaxy. Jenkins shared a video on Twitter. It's in this post that she described her goal to make this movie the best fighter pilot film. She added that she wasn't able to find the ideal topic for such a film before, but it seems Star Wars is exactly the kind of universe where a concept like this may work. Hopefully, Patty is able to make the film a great watch as well as for a good fighter pilot movie. Moving on is Star Wars: The Acolyte. The events of this Star Wars series will take place in the last year of the High Republic, just as a new dark side power is beginning to emerge. The Acolyte, a mystery series created by Russian doll creator Leslie Headland, follows a former Padawan who teams up with her Jedi Master to look into a string of crimes. But they encounter something far more terrible than they'd anticipated. The project has some big names attached to it. There's Lee Jong-jae from Squid Game, Daphne Keane from His Dark Materials, and Manny Jacinto from 9 Perfect Strangers. Plus, we've also got Dean Charles Chapman from Game of Thrones and Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix. The series is now under production and should be available by 2024, but it's tough to really say the exact release date. Plus, there's Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie. We don't know when or even if Kevin Feige, the director of Disney's Golden Goose, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, would attempt to replicate his success with Star Wars. In a Vanity Fair article from May, Kathleen Kennedy provided the most recent development on the situation, stating that she'd love to see what movie he may come up with, but since then we don't really know if anything came out of it. With Kevin seemingly being done with the MCU after Phase 6, maybe it's a good opportunity for him to lend his powers to Star Wars. Lastly, there's Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie. The Lost and the Leftovers creator Damon Lindelof is also considering a journey to the Star Wars world. There's little information available about the film he's working on, but he recently enlisted the aid of a writer's room to help him with the story. This writer's room included people like Patrick Somerville and Justin Britt Gibson. They'll collaborate with Lindelof on the script. The untitled movie, which will be directed by Miss Marvel's Shireen Obaid Chinoy, is said to take place after the sequel trilogy's events. Although Lindelof is most known for his original series, he's also worked on Star Trek Into Darkness, the Alien prequel Prometheus, and HBO's Watchmen. He's also no stranger to joining established and long-running properties. That said, there's no information as of now on the project's release date. But that's going to be a wrap for this video, my friends. Which upcoming Star Wars projects are you most excited for? Comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.